For the past 7 days, I have been trying to live like a minimalist. And now that it's over, I can finally tell you what I learned about this lifestyle and how you can use some of these concepts in your own life to help you declutter your mind and find more peace. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor, Math. When thinking of ways to simplify my life, one area that immediately comes to mind is investing. With so many different platforms and options out there, it can be hard to know where to start or what's best for you. That's why I was excited to hear from today's sponsor, Masterworks is an investing platform that allows you to invest in fine art, which has historically returned 16.5% annually compared to only 12% for the S&P 500. Since 1995, the value of contemporary art has outpaced the S&P 500 by 164%. But the issue with this is that normally investing in art is accessible because you need millions of dollars to get started. But with Masterworks, you can invest in multi-million-dollar art for a fraction of the cost right from your phone. So far, they've sold 3 paintings with one returning 36 gross in less than 12 months. Now, let me make it clear. Investing always carries risk, and the value of your investment may go down as well as up. But if you're interested in diversifying your portfolio, I encourage you to sign up using my link below to get on the wait list and skip the 50,000-person queue. Also, the first 25 people to sign up will receive a free share of a painting in the next gallery. Again, that's my link down below in the description to get started. Thanks again to Masterworks for sponsoring this video. All right, now let's get back to the video. The concept of minimalism seems to have taken the world by storm in the last couple of years. It's kind of like the new age version of getting your finances in order. You see all over social media people giving up their luxurious lifestyles and possessions and simplifying their lives. They're selling their cars, houses, and designer clothes and are choosing instead to travel the world with a backpack full of essentials. But most people don't realize that minimalism doesn't necessarily mean going to such extremes. Instead, it is more about finding contentment with less and realizing that more stuff doesn't necessarily mean more happiness. So my experiment consisted of getting rid of everything that I did absolutely need for an entire week. I decided to do this for 2 reasons. First, I wanted to see if I would feel any different living with less. Second, I wanted to show you guys that you do need to become a total hermit to benefit from minimalism. Here are the 5 things that I learned during my week-long experiment. No. 1. Less stuff equals less stress. When I came home from work each day, I would come home to a cluttered apartment. There were clothes everywhere, boxers piled up and paperwork stuck to random surfaces. The physical clutter was constantly making me feel stressed and overwhelmed. But after I got rid of everything that I didn't need, I noticed that I felt much calmer when I came home at night. It was almost as if the extra space around me created extra space in my head. And that's when I realized that our surroundings really do affect us in ways that we would think about. This study from UCLA actually backs up what I experienced, stating that clutter makes us feel stressed and anxious. But when our environment is clean and organized, we're more likely to feel relaxed and productive. So whether you have a messy room or a messy office, I challenge you to declutter that area and see if it affects your mental state in a positive way. No. 2. Having less choices makes life easier. One of the biggest benefits of living minimally is that you spend less time deciding what you're going to wear, eat, or do. And although that sounds kind of boring at first, the truth is that having less choices can be a good thing. In this book, The Paradox of Choice, the author explains how too many choices in our lives actually leads to decreased happiness and increased anxiety. He writes, "The more choices we have, the more difficult it is to choose. Paradoxically, the more choices we have, the more unhappy we are with our lot." For example, I had so many different tops, jeans, shoes, and accessories that I would waste so much time trying to figure out what to wear each morning. But when I simplified my wardrobe down to just a few basic pieces, I freed up so much time in the mornings, and I spent less energy worrying about what I looked like. If you want to experience this for yourself, I suggest starting with something easy like cutting down the number of shirts that you own. To get a good place to start, pick up a shirt, ask yourself if you love it, and if the answer is no, then get rid of it. After doing this with every single shirt that I owned, I realized that I actually didn't like more than half of them. And the crazy part is that I had already forgotten about most of those shirts because I never wore them. Number 3. You don't need as much as you think. One of my favorite quotes about minimalism is by Fumio Sasaki, who says, "We're not lacking in possessions, but rather possessed by them. We get so caught up in the things that we own that we forget that we just temporary caretakers of these objects." I started this experiment thinking that I would feel uncomfortable without all of my stuff, but I actually realized that I was better off without them. I used public transportation everywhere, and I actually found that it was convenient and enjoyable. I made new friends. I found new hobbies. And I was able to do all the things that I wanted to do, even though I didn't have as much stuff as usual. If you want to try this out for yourself, I recommend that you try something called a minimalist meal. For one day, decide that you will only eat with one utensil, one plate, and one cup. By limiting yourself to these items, you'll realize that you don't need all of the fancy plates, decorations, and utensils that you have cluttering up your kitchen. And you might even find that eating with just a cup, a plate, and a fork makes your meals feel more meaningful. No. 4. Freeing up physical space frees up mental space. When we surround ourselves with lots of stuff, we end up filling our minds with thoughts about what we own. For example, I found myself thinking things like, "Oh, did I pay that water bill yet? Oh, where did I put that important document?" Or, "Oh, I wonder if someone could use this random knick-knack that I own." But once I got rid of all of that stuff, I found that I was thinking a lot clearer and I was able to focus on the task at hand. If you want to try this out for yourself, I recommend that you spend a day trying to think of nothing. It's harder than it sounds. At first, you will all probably notice that your mind is filled with thoughts about what you need to do and what you have to accomplish. But as you get better at focusing on the present moment, you'll notice that your mind becomes sharper and that you're more creative and productive. And finally, no. 5. Living like a minimalist doesn't mean that you're cheap. A lot of people assume that minimalists are cheap and only buy generic brands or cheap food. But the truth is that we aren't let our spending habits define us. Because we know that money doesn't buy happiness. During this experiment, I continued to buy organic produce, fair trade coffee, and I didn't cook at home just to save money. My goal wasn't to save money, but to simplify my life. And I found that I actually ended up saving money by not buying unnecessary items. If you want to try this out for yourself, I recommend that you go to the grocery store without a list and without any preconceived notions about what you really going to buy. Once you get to the store, take a look at all of the items and buy only the ones that you truly need and that will actually make a difference in your life. Then add up all of your purchases and see how much you would have saved. If you had bought those same things online, chances are that you would have saved a lot of money, and that is proof that living like a minimalist doesn't mean being cheap. Overall, I loved my week-long experiment, and I plan on keeping some of these habits in my life forever. Even though it was challenging at times, it was also incredibly freeing. I felt lighter, happier, and more focused. And I realized that I don't need as much stuff as I thought I did. If you want to try this experiment out for yourself, I encourage you to start small by getting rid of some of the stuff that you need. Then see how you feel after a week. You may be surprised at how much better you feel without all of that stuff. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content. As always, you can follow me on social media. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.